Hello everyone, my name is Derek and welcome to the Netflix Knowhow, the review show here to help you stop browsing and start watching. Today we have Parks and Recreation, which I will admit is a show that came out a few years ago and has since ended, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. Now, I first started watching the show a few months ago, and initially I wasn't planning on reviewing it because, as I mentioned, it came out a few years ago, it's already finished, and most of the people that want to see it have probably already watched it by now. But by the time I finished this series, I thought to myself, you know what? This is such a good show that I'm gonna talk about it. I have to, it's that amazing. And for those of you that have not seen it and might be a little hesitant about the show, especially because it seems like just a knockoff clone of The Office, fear not. It is not. It is very much its own individual, unique thing. The show follows the adventures of a ragtag group of parks workers in a podunk little Indiana town known as Pawnee. They're led by their fearless leader, Leslie Knope, played by the wonderful Amy Poehler, who is enthusiastic and charming and overwhelming at times, but you can't help but love her because she's so passionate about everything she does, almost to a fault. There's the head of the department, Ron Swanson, played by Nick Offerman, who is the curmudgeonly reclusive libertarian who believes that government is pointless and has decided to take it upon himself to work for the government in an effort to bleed the beast dry from within. There's Tom Haverford, the swag master himself, played by Aziz Ansari, and he is somehow managing to walk the line between the cool underachiever and the ambitious entrepreneur, and he does both of them so well. Aubrey Plaza plays April Ludgate, who is the dark and brooding loner of the group who pretends to hate everyone, but deep down inside, she's really just a big softie. Andy Dwyer is the big, lovable, charming doofus goofball of the group, played by Chris Pratt. Quick fun fact about Chris Pratt, this role of Andy Dwyer is actually the role that made Chris Pratt a household name, and he wasn't even supposed to be a main character on the show. He was just supposed to be a funny throwaway character in the first season, but everybody loved working with him so much during the production of that season that they decided to keep him on, and it is probably one of the best decisions that they made on this show. Ann Perkins, played by one of my celebrity crushes, Rashida Jones, is Leslie's best friend and is honestly just kind of along for the ride. She sort of serves as a balancing point for Leslie's often overly ambitious and crazy passion about everything, and she's just a great friend. She loves everybody, and she's just awesome. I love her. Ben Wyatt and Chris Traeger show up in the third season, and they're played by Adam Scott and Rob Lowe, respectively. Ben Wyatt is the nerdy accounting type who gets really excited by numbers and tabletop role-playing games, but you know what? Apparently that's Leslie's thing because they end up falling in love and getting married together. Chris Traeger is a health nut. He's just the most insanely health-conscious person on the planet, and yet he's so massively depressed and insecure. Oh my god, his character is so funny. I love Chris, he's hilarious. Donna Meagle, played by comedian Retta, serves as the Parks Department's office manager, and she is sassy and fabulous and mysterious. She is just a wonderful, amazing woman. There's also a character named Jerry, or Larry, or Terry, or Barry, Gary, I don't know, something like that. Doesn't matter, he's not important. Now, I will say that I enjoyed the show right from the get-go. I thought it was funny and smart and witty and just charming all around, but I will admit the show really doesn't find its footing until about the third season. So if you're expecting to go into this and hoping that it's going to be amazing right out of the gate, you might be a little disappointed, but just stick with it. It gets way better in the third season after Ben Wyatt and Chris Traeger, their characters show up. That would be Adam Scott and Rob Lowe. The show gets much, much better after that. It's good at the beginning as well, it's just not as good, and you'll see what I mean as the seasons and the show progresses. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot. There's actually another main character in the first two seasons. Mark Brandanowitz. He's, well, he's played by Phil Schneider, and he's fine, I guess? Yeah, the point I'm making is, not really a super memorable character. I didn't mind him, I thought he was fine, but I also didn't miss him after he was gone. Oh yeah, and then there's Crazy Craig, who shows up in season 6 to the end of the series, and boy does he live up to that name. Oh my god, this dude is insane.
I did everything. Everything. I carried the Eagleton department on my shoulders for years, and I loved every second of it. You don't even know!
So as I mentioned, the show doesn't really find its footing until about season 3, but once it gets there, seasons 3 through 6 are all amazing. They're all funny, they're all heartfelt, they're warm, they're charming, they're hilarious, they're enjoyable. There's just so much good stuff in all of them, and they all have fantastic season finales as well. The highlight of which is probably the finale of season 6. Season 6 had such a good ending. Oh my gosh, I was like crying. It was so good. It was amazing. Season 7 is the final season of the series, and it's different. It's not bad per se, it's just different. I do think it starts off a little shaky just because it's kind of a weird season in terms of its concept and structuring, and you'll see what I mean if you watch the show. It's just strange. It is still a good season though, and once it gets past sort of a shaky beginning after about like episode 4 or 5, it really hits its stride again, and it finds that nice heartfelt place that all of the other seasons are able to find just naturally. And so I do think the show closes out on a good note with season 7. If I'm being completely honest, I do think it might have been better if the show ended on season 6, especially given how strong the finale of season 6 was, but still, the show goes out with a bang and I enjoyed it to the very end. I really liked and appreciated that every single season had sort of like a main overarching goal or project for the parks department and all of the characters to accomplish together, but then each character individually still had their own little side projects and side goals to accomplish as well. It just created a really strong narrative and a really strong structure that allowed the characters to grow and develop naturally. And it also makes it so that when they do finally achieve their goal at the end, especially after going through all of the struggles and troubles that they have to deal with getting there, it makes it so satisfying by the time you get to the end of a season. The characters are also continually developed every single season. We learn something new about them. They grow in a significant and meaningful way. They're constantly evolving and changing, and we are being consistently reminded that these characters are real people. They might be a little crazy, they might be kind of quirky and weird at times. Well, all the time, really, but they're real people. You can really relate to all of them. It is a show about real human beings with real emotions and real passion, and you can feel that. I also really liked, and I found it hilarious, how every character has their own set of flaws, things that are wrong with them, but the show frames them in such a way that those character flaws are simultaneously their greatest strengths and the thing that makes the characters awesome. They also do a really good job of developing the relationships between the characters, and not just between like a select few, but they really work to make sure that every character has a distinct relationship with each other character, and that creates a nice, unique, refreshing level of rewatchability. I will definitely say that Leslie Knope, the main character of the show, is the glue that holds all of these characters together and sort of bonds all of them together as a team. But the relationship between Leslie Knope and her boss Ron Swanson is really the glue that holds the show as a whole together. Leslie and Ron are just such different people, and yet they're so similar once you get to know them and understand them. If you just look at it from a surface level, Leslie Knope is this overly giddy, ambitious, and gleeful and passionate person that cares about government, cares about public service and the parks department. She wants to make the world a better place, and she's constantly getting involved in people's lives because she wants to make the world better for everyone. Ron Swanson hates people, hates the government, thinks public services are a waste of taxpayer money, and he just wants to be left alone. That's all he wants. But the thing that really brings them together is their shared convictions and their shared passions. They are both deeply principled people, and they really honestly do care about the things that they hold dear to their heart. And so when you put them together, it just creates such a strong, unique bond, especially considering that they're such different people on the outside. They are the perfect embodiment of the yin-yang symbol. The show simply would not work if their character dynamic and their balance of each other was not there. And I'm going to talk about the ending very briefly, not giving anything away, but the very last episode, they give all of the characters a nice little sending off story, and Ron and Leslie's sending off story is the sweetest and nicest one of all of them. It is the best one by far, hands down. Parks and Recreation is also a show that is about something, and I appreciate that. It is a show that is not afraid to dive into political and social issues. In a way, Pawnee, Indiana, the fictional town that the show takes place in, is a microcosm for all of American society and culture and traditions and politics. It's kind of amazing. The show does a very good job of taking on different issues without coming off as preachy or heavy-handed, and I like that because it's a show that anyone can get into no matter what side of the aisle you might fall on. And even when they do take on these political and social issues, all of these things are channeled through the characters and the experiences that they have. So it's not coming off as feeling like a moral lesson, it's more just looking at these characters and seeing how these different things are affecting them and how they handle them. The show never once loses sight of its characters and their stories and the heart that makes the show work. Most of all, and I've mentioned this a few times already, the show is freaking hysterical. I literally laughed out loud at least twice in every single episode. It rides a line where it constantly feels like it's going to fall off the deep end and just feel dumb and stupid, but it never actually gets there. It just remains funny and witty and insightful the whole time, even when it's being over the top ridiculous and goofy. Parks and Recreation is just a show with tremendous heart and soul and passion, and you can tell that in every single episode and every single character, every single storyline. This is just a show made with love. It definitely starts a little bit wobbly in the first 2 seasons, but they aren't bad seasons by any means. They're just not as good as the seasons that follow. And I think that that's a really good thing, where a show starts good, it recognizes that it can be better, and then it gets better. It's such a good show. It is a series that celebrates the differences that make us unique, but also the things that bring us together. It almost serves as conclusive proof that even though we might have our differences and we all might have things about us that might not mesh well with others, if we put our differences aside, there are so many things that bring us together and that help us bond as people, and we should be celebrating that. It really is just a show that is a celebration of love, of friendship, togetherness, and that is really something that we could currently use in our society right now. Leslie Knope, Ron Swanson, and the rest of the Parks and Recreation gang get my enthusiastic, bureaucratic seal of approval. Thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. So yeah, Parks and Recreation was a fantastic series. Was not planning on reviewing it, but by the time I finished it, I'm like, I have to talk about this. This is such a good show. It's so amazing. I love it. It was a very, very good friend of mine that suggested I watch this show. I had planned on watching it anyway, but she sort of helped push me to watching it sooner. So thank you so much. You know who you are. Anyway, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and share it with all your friends. I would really appreciate that. You can also head over to Twitter and over to Facebook and follow me on there. And as always, if you want to know your flicks, you know where to click. Happy hunting, guys. I will see you all next time.